All right, hello YouTube. Now today's video will be also about Active Directory penetration testing. I saw that most of you guys you want to learn about this topic, and I didn't see any sufficient resources on the internet in the form of videos explaining the details of Active Directory penetration testing. Now in the past lesson, guys, we learned how to enumerate users, groups, and organizational units. All right. Now, in this video, guys, we're gonna see how to get the current logged in users on the system that you have just compromised. Also, how to get the logged in users in the entire domain controller, including the users who are currently logged in via remote desktop servers. And also, we will be discovering how to interact with something called service principal names. Okay. Now, the script I will be using today, the script is called PowerView. Okay. You can download the script from GitHub. I'm going to put the link of the script in the description box. You can download the script and practice it. But basically, guys, this script will be flagged as a malicious file or malicious script by your antivirus. So consider turning off your antivirus in order to move on with this script. So actually, PowerView, guys, has various purposes and has many use cases in the field of cybersecurity or penetration testing. But we're going to use it today for the purposes of enumerating the logged in users in the Active Directory. Now, one rule of thumb, guys, is when you have, assuming that you have gained access to one Windows client, okay, Windows 10 client or Windows Windows 7 that is part of domain controller, you're not gonna most probably you will not be able to execute PowerView or any PowerShell script from inside the shell that you have just gained access to. All right, try to use Metasploit and use the command load PowerShell. This command is used in Metasploit to load PowerShell as a module. All right. I'm repeating again, if you are testing a Windows client that is part of domain controller and you have gained shell access, you're interacting with the command line of a Windows machine, okay? Don't try to use PowerView, all right, to enumerate logged in users, because PowerView is flagged as malicious script and you will turn down your efforts while you are testing. If you just have gained access to a Windows client, use it through Metasploit. Open a listener in Metasploit and interact with the system using Metasploit and load PowerShell within Metasploit. All right. Now, after you load PowerShell from Metasploit, you will be able to execute the script. Now, let's get to our lesson here. So basically, guys, if we go to, or let's not go to that. Okay. Now, this script, guys, I'm not going to be explaining line by line because the script is too long, and many researchers worked on developing the script. And also, I'm not going to be able to execute the script on this machine because this machine has an active antivirus that I cannot turn off, unfortunately. I'm going to be showing you the comments that you can use to enumerate the current logged in users. Okay. Now, first thing, assuming that you have saved the script on your computer, you put like import module and the name of the script. Now, in this case, I hope that the backslash in my keyboard is kind of problematic. Let me grab it from somewhere else. Okay. Now here put PowerView PS1. Assuming that you have done that and you have saved the script in desktop, you're going to click on enter and the module will be loaded to your PowerShell. Now the next step, guys, is to enumerate the logged in users on the machine that you have just compromised and in the entire domain controller. Okay. Now PowerView has many options. There are hundreds of commands that you can use for the purpose of enumeration. But as we are doing Active Directory penetration testing, we need to stick to a specific plan. Our plan is Once we have enumerated the users, the module, the users, the memberships, the group memberships, and organizational units, once we have located the administrators on the system, we need to know, we need to understand, we need to figure out, we need to determine and define who are the currently logged in administrators, who are the currently logged in members or groups who are members of have high value groups like administrator group, right? You're not gonna crack the hash or not gonna compromise a domain admin who is not logged in, right? You're not gonna find them. So basically, we need to understand, we need to know who are the currently logged in users. We need to pick up the currently logged in admins and take it further from there. Now, the first command is get net logged on. All right. Now, once I put, okay, if I execute that, it's not going to work because the module is not imported and the script doesn't exist actually in my system. As I told you, I have an antivirus that doesn't allow that and I cannot turn that off. I'm sorry. But basically, this is a command, it's not rocket science, no brainer. Get net logged in will give you the currently logged in users on the current system. It's not on the entire domain controller, all right? Bear that in mind. Okay, let's go back. Get net logged on. We can specify the computer name, and here we put, what do you think? Here I can put the domain controller computer name like DC01, or I can put the current computer name. But basically, the best use of the get net logged on is to enumerate the currently logged in users on the current system. I mean, don't use the get net logged on to enumerate and to know who are the currently logged in users on the domain controller. Don't do that. Why? There is a reason for this. Now, basically, the reason, guys, is there are two modules. We have two Windows functions that help us achieve the goal of enumeration. Now, we have net. Let me type this somewhere. Note that. Okay, so I have here something called net work, something like that, user enu. Oh my, look, I just user enumeration. And the second one is net session enu, all right? Now the first one, get net logged in, will use one of these modules. Now, if it uses the get net workstation enumeration, it will list you the currently logged in users. If we use net session enumeration, it will list the currently active sessions, and there is a vast difference between them. In the first case, I get the logged in users, only users, but in the second case, I get what? I get the sessions, which means the session has the IP address, the name of the machine, and the domain controller that is part of. Way more useful. But everyone has its own limitation. So during an assessment, after compromising a domain machine, guys, we should enumerate every computer in the domain and then use the get net logged in. So in the previous video, we have enumerated every single user computer membership, right? We can use that here. Keep in mind, guys, that the API, the Windows API that relies on this requires administrative privileges, all right? So if you don't have administrative privileges, it's not gonna work. So alternatively, guys, we could focus our efforts on discovering the domain controllers and any potential file servers in the network and use net session enumeration. We're gonna rely on this API, all right? Net session enumeration if you don't have administrative privileges against these servers, so in order to enumerate all active user sessions. So this process, guys, would provide us with a good exploitation map to follow in order to compromise domain name account. Okay, now let's use, guys, the get net session. How do we do that? Let's go back and we put get net session computer name. Let's say I'm enumerating the domain controller. Let's put like PC05. I know, no output, but this command, guys, will give you the active sessions on the entire domain controller. You hear that, right? The active sessions on the entire domain controller. What's the output will be like? The output will be like something like let's the IP address, right? Let's say the IP address of the user logged in, and the user, let's say it is admin, and the session time. So the output of this will give you something like this on multiple lines. So you see the user, okay, that is currently logged in, okay, not necessarily in the domain controller machine, but in the entire domain, right? One of the machines. And you'll see the IP address of that machine that is currently logged in. If you see admin, then you know, guys, that the admin user, okay, is currently logged in. What's your next step? The next step is using mimikatz. You use mimikatz to dump the hashes of this user. You take the hashes, you crack them offline, and boom, you have gained, and you're going to log in as the administrator, and you have compromised the Active Directory system. Simple, right? No, it's not simple. So that's how we use. That's for this the case of this. That's Power case actually, right? Now, so Power Review, guys, take your time, go to the GitHub and download the script. Try to experiment and practice the script on your own lab. All right. So now we have determined the groups, the users, and the organizational units. We have determined who are the currently logged in users, and then we further down, narrow down our attack to specific users. All right. Then we can dump their hashes using mimikatz, which I'm going to explain later in the next video or into later videos. Okay, that's clear now. Now, there is another concept, guys, in enumerating Active Directory systems. The concept is called service principal names. Service. Let's go here. I don't like this. I like Powershell more. So there is something called service principal names, right, in Active Directory. So it means that, when we have an application that is executed, it must always do so in the context of an operating system user. So when you go ahead and launch an app from here, like Windows Explorer, it is launched in the context of the currently logged in users used by you, right? Your Majesty. Now, what do I mean by service principal names? It's the connection between a specific service like IIS server, IIS service, exchange, whatsoever, and the service account into Active Directory. What do I mean by service account? Let's go to Task Manager. And let's go to services. Okay, this is services, right? I don't know if it's another language. Okay, so as you can see, everything in system, I have many things in system, right? I'm not going to reveal other names, but everything in system, guys, requires a service account. So you have a service that's connected to Internet Information Services or connected to Exchange server, right? This service will be used by a service account, not by your user. It's going to run in the context of system or a service account, all right? Now, the connection between this service account and this service is called service principal names. Now, why do we enumerate service principal names, guys? Why do we do that? Basically, if we enumerate service principal names, we're going to be able to see what are the available servers running on the system, like IIS server, Exchange server. And how do we do that? How do we do that? That's the question. Now, if we go back to the script I have explained in the previous video, which is offensive security script, of course. Let me do it here and put that here. Okay. So this is offensive security script that we used in the previous video to enumerate users, groups, and organizational units. Of course, we have worked on modifying the filter every time, depending on the entity or object we are trying to enumerate. Like we put name, we put user, to enumerate different aspects of depending on our goal, right? Now, here, the guys in offensive security said, okay, if you want to enumerate service principal name, in the filter, you put service principal name, and you define the service that you are interested in enumerating or finding out if it is running or not. So what does that mean? Let's see what do they mean by that. Let's save the script. Let's name it offensive security. Okay, let's run that directory. Okay, clear, import module, oops, backslash. I'm sorry guys, but my keyboard doesn't type backslash for some reason. I couldn't find it. It is either I am so dumb to find it or it doesn't exist. So how do I find this? Let me. Okay. Module. Okay. Now, and we put. What was the name of this script? No tab. ES1. Offensives. Okay. I don't want to copy that. Oh, that's right. So here, I think we made a mistake. This one should be here. Okay. Now the next step is we need to find the output, but there is no output. Okay, let's run this from here. So what's missing here? I think maybe I need to put some kind of output, right? So in the script here above, we need to print something. So for each property and object properties, okay, so here, if we type write host, okay. Yeah, and this save. Oop. So what's missing here? Search filter. So no output. I'm assuming that we don't have any service running. Let's try to modify this and put DNS. Okay, so I put DNS, and here I found some interesting information about the service. So here what I can find, guys, I can see what is the service, okay, the DNS service that is running, right? the users that are using this service. So here, one of the most important info, guys, is this one. Service principal name, which is Microsoft Windows Server Solutions, blah, 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 concept lookup. Okay, all these, it puts me the principal name that connects the DNS, okay, with the service account. Now, if we go down, so this one, this is the account name that is using the DNS server, okay? So these are very important information, guys, actually. Why? Because sometimes you would find different services running like HTTP, DNS, FTP. You need to modify this every time you want to run the script to find out what are the current running services. It's not like Nmap, but it could find you what are the running servers on the domain controller, all right? And what is the user that is using these servers, right? And also, guys, I can see here that, see, this is domain control. This is the provider path. And from here, I can see the organizational unit that is using the server, domain controllers. Yeah. So only admins are using this server, right? As you can see from the organizational unit, I concluded that. And up there, manage service account. Yep. So this is the use of these data, guys. You keep note of these information or this output that you have got, and you have by now you have determined who are the users, the groups, the memberships, and you determined who are the currently logged in users, if they are admins or not, and you have determined what are the running services by their service principal name on the Active Directory level. All right. So the next step, guys, is to use and put all of the data that you have just gained in an actual attack. So if you discover that one of the currently logged in users is, let's say, an admin account, you're going to use Mimikatz to dump the hashes, right? If you discover that FTP, HTTP, and these services are running, you can try to find out what is the address on which these services are running, and then you escalate your attack to web application attack or brute force, FTP brute force attack, and that's how it works actually. But again, guys, try to save these scripts locally on your system, and when you have gained access to a limited shell on Windows, try to make it via Metasploit. Especially if you want to use Powersploit, because if you have Powersploit and you want to use it on the machine you are testing, most of the time, not definitely, but let me say most probably it will not work because there could be kind of antivirus system on there, and it's gonna thwart your efforts. If you manage to disable the antivirus, then do that, but don't risk it, especially if you are doing this in real world environments where you are testing this for a current client. So now in the next video, we're going to demonstrate how to dump the admin hashes, the domain controller admin. We're going to dump the hashes of their passwords, and we're going to demonstrate how we gained access to an admin account in the Active Directory, right? All right, I hope this was somewhat helpful, and see you in the next Active Directory penetration testing series.